Today in chemistry, we're going to look at outlining examples of the selection of metals for different purposes based on their reactivity, with a particular emphasis on current developments in the uses of metals. So in order to do that, we're going to have a look at the kitchen sink and some other things in the kitchen. So reactivity of metals is an important consideration when selecting metals for specific purposes. Some situations where the choice of metal is based heavily upon chemical reactivity are the roof guttering for houses. You want non-reactive but expensive aluminium or cheaper galvanized iron, which will eventually corrode. Water pipes, such as this one. Now, this water pipe was actually broken here by a tree root. It's probably been under the ground for about 30 years. And you can see how it's oxidized there. And where the plumber has cut it there, see how it's nice and shiny? So you can see the difference from where it's oxidized to where it's nice and shiny there, where it hasn't oxidized. So with copper water pipes, do you want this expensive but non-reactive copper? Even though it has oxidized, otherwise it's pretty non-reactive. Or do you want cheaper corrodable iron? Now, electrical contacts for replacement circuits, and we've got some electrical circuits here, but it's a bit hard to see. They're covered in plastic. Do you want electrical circuits for replaceable circuit boards in computers and other electronic equipment? Do you want it made from the cheap copper, which slowly forms a non-conducting oxide layer that you saw in the pipe? Or do you want expensive gold, which does not react with iron at all? So this gold, you can see here, it hasn't reacted at all, and this is always on my hand. That's what jewelry is made out of, because it doesn't react at all. It doesn't oxidize. Body implants. Do you want expensive but extremely inert titanium alloys, or less expensive but over the long term corrosion susceptible stainless steel? So here in the kitchen, I've got this slice tin, and as you can see, it has actually, it's not very expensive, but it has actually oxidized, it's actually rusted there. So it must have iron in it because it's rusted from that rusted layer. But it does have this non-stick layer on it that's obviously come off from being cut with a knife or somehow being marked, and that's removed the non-stick layer, exposing the iron underneath, which is rusted. If you compare that to what cake tins were made out of 30, 40 years ago, which doesn't have a non-stick layer on it, this aluminium tin, which looks even better. You wouldn't think that this was actually older than the other tin, but you can see 30 years on, it hasn't corroded at all. What about this light bulb? What metal do you think might be in there for the filament, which gets so hot that it actually lights up and eventually it breaks? What metal do you think that might be made out of? And then of course we've got the kitchen sink and the windowsill. What metal do you think that windowsill is made out of? And why do you think kitchen sinks are made out of stainless steel? What property do you think it must have for it to be made out of that? So what I want you to do is fill out this table that's here. So I want you to have a look at, write down the purpose of, what purpose do you think a kitchen sink would have? Electrical wiring, a bridge, bolts and nails, and a window frame. In the next column, I want you to suggest the metal or alloy that should be used. And you have to also think of the property. Do you want these things to be strong or water resistant? or have good electrical conductivity? Do you want it to be corrosion resistant? Is it going to be around water a lot? So try to think of what purpose these things should have, what they should be made out of, and the property. So you can copy out this table now and start filling it in.